Hey teachers, are you looking for ways to make your PowerPoint presentations more fun and engaging for students? Well, in this video, I am going to show you how to use ClassPoint to add interactive elements to your presentations, to monitor student engagement while you're teaching, and to track their understanding of the content being taught in the PowerPoint presentation. Now, before we dive in, I quickly just want to ask you to go ahead and subscribe to this channel. We upload new videos every single week that have to do with technology in the classroom and how to teach different content areas and subjects and just all kinds of fun resources and ideas for teachers. So if you're subscribed to our channel, you won't miss out on any of those things. Now, let's go ahead and get into PowerPoint and ClassPoint. Now, to get a hold of ClassPoint, all you have to do is go to www.classpoint.io and you're going to click on the free download. Once you do that, it is going to go ahead and install directly in your PowerPoint program. So you don't need to create anything in an outside program and then upload it to PowerPoint. Everything is going to be right there inside of PowerPoint. So you're going to create in PowerPoint. You're going to be able to see your students' results in PowerPoint. Everything is right there. Now I'm going to be showing you how to use all of the free features today. There is a premium version that you can also upgrade to. And if you stick with me to the end of this video, I'll also give you a 20% off promo code that you can use if you want to upgrade to that. Now, the last thing I want to say before we go ahead and jump on my computer is after you've created this PowerPoint presentation, your students can view and interact with it from pretty much any device. They can use a laptop, computer, smartphone, or tablet. So let's go ahead and jump on to my computer and I'm going to show you how to add those interactive elements and to create PowerPoint presentations that are interactive for your students. So after you download ClassPoint, you will be guided through with some instructions on how to install it here in PowerPoint. And once it is installed in PowerPoint, you'll see this tab at the top that says ClassPoint. And so this will give you all of the features that you need to be able to use ClassPoint while you're creating and sharing your PowerPoint presentations. And you can see that by having this tab here, everything's integrated. So you don't need to open another program or go to another site. Everything you need is right here. So very quickly, I just want to go through this toolbar. And the first thing you will see is you've got pens and whiteboard backgrounds. These are going to be what shows up in the toolbar when you actually begin sharing your presentation with students. So you can change the pen color that's going to show up. These are grayed out, so there will only be 3 pins there. So you can just play with these to make sure you have the colors and things that you want in your presentation. These are the interactive features that you can add to a presentation. I will show you how to use those in just a second. And then these are what you're going to use more so after the presentation's done so that you can share the presentation as a PDF with your students. The leaderboard, I'll talk about that in a few minutes, is going to allow you to compare students' results in a competition mode, and a clear all responses is going to clear out all of the responses your students have left on this presentation. So if you've already shared this with students, they've answered, but now you've decided you want to clear out all their responses, you'll click on that. Now, I've already created a presentation here, and I want to go through it and show you how to add the different interactive features. So let's start with this first slide. And the first thing that I want you to notice is I have already set up the question and the multiple choice options. So you need to make sure that any questions or directions, you add those to the slide before you add the interactive feature. And once you have your question or instructions or anything that you need set up, you can go ahead and click on multiple choice since this is a multiple choice question. And this box is going to appear. You can move it anywhere on the screen and then you can look through the options. So this will allow you to decide the number of choices you see. I've got 4 here, so we want to leave it at 4. I'm also going to check this where it says allow selecting multiple choices because this says select all of the things that the plants need to grow, not just one thing. So this turns it into a multiple selection. If they're only going to select one, you would leave this unchecked. The other thing I want to show you in the options is competition mode. And this is what I was talking about with the leaderboard here. competition mode can only be used with multiple choice questions. And when you do it this way, it's basically going to keep track of each student's progress as they move through the questions in the presentation, and it's going to give them points every time they answer a question correctly. And students will be able to see who has the most points by looking at the leaderboard. So that turns it into more of a game. The other thing that I usually look at when I'm setting up these questions is where it says close submission after, and you can pick a time frame. I do usually like to turn this on, especially if I have the presentation open while I'm teaching live, because with this, it basically gives students a time limit. So after 30 seconds, the question is going to disappear whether they've answered it or not. So it prevents you from being in a situation where students are taking forever to answer a question. It also lets you know who's paying attention, because if students aren't answering in that time frame, they're probably not paying attention. So that is your multiple choice. Now for the next one, I'm going to do a word cloud, and a word cloud will let students type in a response that is only one word or maybe just 2 or 3 words, and it's going to create a word cloud with all of those responses. When I show you what it looks like on the student end and how you share it with students, we'll be able to get a closer look at this. The only options here that you need to look at is if you want to limit the number of responses, so you would just check this. So I have what is your favorite type of plant? So I only want them to put 1 response, so I can check that. But if I wanted it to be unlimited, I could leave it unchecked, or maybe I have a question where I say, what are your 2 favorite plants? And I would change this to 2. And like I said before, I always turn this on so that after a certain amount of time, the question goes away, just to encourage students to focus and answer the question in the appropriate amount of time. All right, the next one is going to be a short answer question, and that's exactly what it sounds like. Students are going to type a short response. It could be a couple sentences, it could be a paragraph. Nothing too complicated over here. I am going to turn on closed submission, and I might give a little bit more time since they actually have to type something out. And then you can decide whether you want to hide the students' names when you're viewing their responses, or if you want to be able to see their names. I like to be able to see the names, so I usually leave this unchecked. But if you do want to hide it just so that you can get a general sense of what the class is thinking without seeing specific students, you can check that. All right, next up we have slide drawing, and this one is great for labeling, or if you want students to draw a model. This is going to allow them to use a pen and actually draw or write on the slide. So I want them to label the parts of the plants, and the options for this are going to be the same as the short answer, so you can decide whether you want to hide their names or not when you're viewing their responses. And then the last one is going to be image upload. So with this one, instead of typing a response, students are going to upload an image. So let's say you're teaching vascular and non-vascular plants. You could say upload an image of a non-vascular plant, so that way you can see, okay, do students actually know what non-vascular plants look like and what they are? I also find this one to be fantastic for showing work. So if students are doing math, they can take a picture of their work and then upload it, or they're writing, they can take a picture of their work and then upload it, but it's great for that. And the options for this one are going to be the same as short answer and slide drawing. Okay, so we have actually got all of the interactives added to this presentation. So now what we want to do is actually go ahead and share it with students. And to do that, it's so simple. Once again, everything's integrated here, so we don't have to go outside of the program to share it. You are just going to click on slideshow, and then you're just going to open this as a slideshow presentation. So I'm going to start from the beginning and open this as a slideshow. Now that you've created this presentation, let me go ahead and show you how you're going to share it with your students and then how they're going to interact with it. Okay, so you'll see that when I have this open as a slideshow, first of all, I want to go through the toolbar very quickly. You'll see you have a laser pointer, then these are the different pins that I had told you about that you can switch out, and highlighters and different things. Please know that when you are using the annotations, they are not going to push out to students immediately, so students wouldn't see this little smiley face that I just made straight away. You would have to save the presentation, and then when you share it with them as a PDF at the end, they will be able to see any annotations that you made. This is just an eraser, so I can erase what I've put here. This is to change the whiteboard background, so if you want a blackboard or ruled paper, you can do that. This is if you want to do a quick poll, so if you want to assess how students are doing, you could ask them a quick true false, yes or no, or number question, and it would push out just a quick poll for your students to answer. Oh, this I love. This is pick a name. We don't have any students in the class yet. I'm going to show you how they join in just a second. But it would put all of the students' names up here, and then I could push this button and it would randomly pick a student for me. And then last but not least, this is your leaderboard. So if you turned on that competition mode, this is where you could go to check and see how many points each student has. So now what I want to do is I am going to share this with students, and to share it with students is so simple. Your students are just going to go to the website www.classpoint.app, and they are going to type in the class code that you see at the top of this presentation. And the great thing is students can access this through any computer, tablet, or smartphone. So I'm going to show you what this looks like from a smartphone so that you can see the student view while I have this pulled up on my computer. So students will just type in that class code, and then they'll type in their name. So we'll just say student 1 for right now, and click join. So you will see the first presentation, or the first slide of the presentation, students can see that on their phone. Now let's move into the questioning. So here's my multiple choice, and also I can see that I have one student in the class now, and when I click on that, I'm going to get a list of all of the students who are joined to this presentation. So to get started with the multiple choice, you are just going to click on the multiple choice button, and you will see that this opens for students. Now music will start playing, and I find that to be a little distracting, so I turn the music off, and I'm just going to randomly pick a few answers here on my phone before time runs out, and click submit. And you will see that as students submit their answers, you're going to be able to see how they respond. So this is going to show up as more students start answering. You'll start to see their responses as well, and you can close out of this at any time. All right, so now I'm going to move on to the next one, and you'll see that changes for the students too, and this is the fun one. This is the word cloud. So now students are going to type in their favorite type of plant and click submit. And you will see their answer appeared. And as more students type in their answers, the words are all going to appear around here, forming this word cloud. And when you hover over each word, see how the number 1 appears? It's because one student has typed that response. So you'll be able to see how many students have typed that, and the responses that have been typed the most will be bigger than all of the other ones. Now let's say you want students to be able to see what all of the other students put. You can put insert results as a slide, and it has now created a slide with that information. So when we move on to the next slide, students will be able to see those responses. So you can do that with any type of questioning. Just put insert as a slide, and then students can see the different responses. Now this is your short answer. So once again, we're going to click this to start the question. And students are going to type their response. And I'm just going to type something very basic. I know there's a lot more involved in photosynthesis, but I'm not going to type it all out right now. And then I'm going to click submit. And you will see that as students start clicking submit, you will see all of their responses start to appear here. You can like their responses, you can download their responses, you can save them. When you click on live status, you'll be able to see who's submitted and who you're still waiting for. But this is a really cool way that you'll be able to see all of the students' responses. And like before, you can insert the results as a slide, but let's say you don't want all of the responses to come up there. Maybe you just have a few responses that you really liked and you want students to see those. If you like them, by clicking on the heart so that it turns red and then click on show only liked responses, only those responses will show up for students to view. Let's move to the next slide. Okay, this is our labeling one where students can actually draw on the slide. So we're going to click start drawing. So they're going to open it. You'll see they have different colored pens. And then if they're doing it on the phone like I'm doing, they're going to have to use their finger. I ran out of room just a little bit there. Okay, and then this is going to show up very similar to the way that the short responses did. So you'll be able to see all of them. You can like all of them. When it's finished, if you only want to show certain responses, just make sure to click the heart and then click only liked answers. And last one, we have our upload a picture of a non-vascular plant. So I'm going to click on upload image. And this one, I'm not going to go through all of the steps just because it could take a little bit of time, but a couple ways that you can do this is, like I said, you can have students take an image and upload it from their phone or tablet or computer. You could also have your students do a Google search for a specific image and save that image and then upload it. So there's a couple of different options, but these are going to show up the exact same way as your short response and your drawing ones did, where you'll see each student's image and you can like it and do whatever you want with it that way. All right, now that we have exited out of the presentation, there are two things that I want to share with you very quickly. First of all, for any slides that you added in that showed the students' answers, if you click on that slide and then click down at the bottom where it says notes, notes will actually come up that show you what each response was. So we can see there was one response for Rose and student 1 typed that response. And if we had more, we would see all of the responses listed out and which students typed those responses. So that's a cool feature that you can use to go back and review students' responses later. The other thing that I want to show you is at the end of any presentation, you are able to share that presentation with students as a PDF. And all you're going to do is you're going to click on Share PDF, and then you will see a QR code and a link. So you can share either one of these with your students, and your students will be able to access a PDF of the presentation. And remember that any annotations that you made during the presentation, students will be able to see those annotations when they view the PDF. So that is how you are going to use ClassPoint for creating interactive PowerPoint presentations and monitoring your students' progress. What I really like about ClassPoint is that it's super easy just to learn and use. I think it says on their website that you can learn how to use this in about 10 minutes, and that's definitely true. I definitely figured out all of the features very quickly. There's nothing very complicated about this. I also like that in addition to being able to make the presentations more interactive, I love that it is a way for me to keep data on all of my students. That's so important for us as teachers, and being able to go back through afterwards and see exactly how each student responded is super helpful for me, just to know where they're at and then to know what I need to reteach as well. Now, I mentioned earlier that if you stuck with me all the way to the end of this video, I would be providing a 20% off promo code if you want to upgrade to the premium version. Everything I showed you today is available for free, but if you use the promo code ClassPoint20, you can receive 20% off that premium version. And if you're wondering what you get by upgrading, basically you get everything you see here, but you get a lot more of it. For example, with the free version, you can only make 5 interactive questions per PowerPoint. If you upgrade, you get unlimited questions. With the free version, you can only have 25 students in a class. If you upgrade, you can have up to 500 students in a class. You're also just going to get more technical support and some additional exporting features for your leaderboards. So I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial all about how to use ClassPoint to make your PowerPoint presentations more interactive. And until next time, happy teaching!